Hello everybody, this is Hammer Striker here. Today I've got a CZ collection on the table. I've done this with Walther, I've done this with Glocks. I figured it'd be kind of fun to do it with CZs, and I've accumulated these over the years, and CZ's got an interesting diversity of styles. You can go back here to the original CZ75. This one happens to be a BD, which means it has a decocker. And I'm not going to intentionally clear every one of these. Both of us have cleared these in advance. All these guns have been double safety checked. So to speed things up, I won't do that every time. But the CZ75 was one of the CZs that become very popular in the United States and has spawned a number of variants, and it's been cloned a number of times, both within CZ, variations of it, and then other manufacturers making things that are based on this mechanism. Fundamentally, in most cases, it's a double action, single action in most of them, and they're generally chambered in 9mm. So this one is in double action mode, and you'll see that it has a really nice trigger. It's a light, short trigger. Tend to have longish resets with a little bit of take up, and then again a nice short break. But even their double action is not overly long and not overly heavy. And this is a characteristic through most of them. Now, some of these have had tuned triggers by the manufacturer where they've either their competition gun or something like that, and they may be a little bit different. But you can take the CZ75 and you can see that it evolved into the compact. This is one of the few that I have that have a safety. And like in 1911, to put the safety on, it has to be cocked. Most of these are a decocker, so they just drop the hammer and then unlock, so they don't act like a safety. But this is basically be a Glock 19 size version of this, what might be equivalent to a Glock 17. They're really cool guns. Now these are metal frames. So far the ones I've picked up are metal frame. And I've got this guy here, which is an interesting deviation from the other two. It's based on a similar mechanism, but it's totally different gun. But this is really meant to be a carry gun. It's the 2075D Rammy, and D meaning the decocker. And I haven't showed you the decocker on one of these. They all work about the same. You push it down, it decocks it. Most of these do have a rebounding or a hammer stop as part of their safety mechanisms. And they're all designed to be drop safe, but they have nice, well-machined frames, low slides. The CZs are just nice. Most of them also have some variation of good, solid 3-dot sights. Whether they're night sights or just 3-dot, they tend to have really nice sights on them. Of course, like any manufacturer, there's going to be different variations of sights and everything else. CZ75 SPO1 Phantom. So this is starting to get into their competition guns. Now they have competition guns that go much higher than this one. This was a reasonably priced entry into the competition market. Slightly different trigger, a little bit tuned internals by the manufacturer, but they'll go up to $1,500, $2,000 competition guns. But the CZ75 variants are very popular in the competition realm. These are the metal guns. They're metal frame guns in my collection. I also have an assortment of polymer frame guns. So this one is a PO7, and it's over here is the PO9, which I'll show you in a second. And these are basically a full-size and compact version of what they've really designed as a duty weapon. These have, depending on the variation, have their new Omega trigger, and the Omega trigger has some better improvements of the trigger in their polymer guns, and it also has a little more flexibility in swapping between a safety and a decocker. This one happens to be a decocker. Most of the P0 series, the PO7, PO9, PO1, don't include the D or BD designations. This one over here is basically just a bigger version of the PO7. Full-size grip, longer rail, longer barrel. But again, these two are polymer frame, steel slide of course, and these are designed primarily as duty weapons. Hammer-fired DASA, just like the others. And I'm going to show you the trigger on one of these. So we'll start with single action. The take up, really short, crisp break, light as well. Again, that longish but not ridiculous reset and some take up. And then the break again. The PO7 I do believe has a different factory trigger mechanism, so we'll start with this one. Again, the take up, breaks near the back, really short, nice break. About the same reset. and then take up again to get on the wall. And that's a characteristic of the majority of them, which is also good, at least within the manufacturer. Be consistent. That way, as you work your way through different ones that you might use for carry and competition, they're going to work very similar. So now I've got a CZ-P10. This happens to be the C. This was an early entry for CZ into the striker market. So notice no hammer, no thumb safety. This operates like a lot of the popular striker guns that are on the market. This would be a compact version, but it's a little bit large as compacts go. And then this is the CZ-P10S, which is the subcompact version of it. Now this has your typical striker fire trigger. A little bit of take up, hit the wall, nice crisp break. Kind of a nice short reset and you're right on the wall, and then the break again. So these have actually become quite popular, CZ entering into the striker-fired market, but they're not abandoning their existing lineup of all of the hammer-fired guns. So if you like CZ-75s, that variant's still ongoing, and when you get into things like this SP01, this Phantom I don't think is currently being produced. CZs can be a little hard to get a hold of. At times you'll see the market flooded with a particular model. It's like, okay, I can get that later, I'll wait to get a better price. Then you go back and they're gone. And then they don't show up again for a year or two. Some never show up again. So one thing, if you like CZs and you decide you want to get a CZ and you find one at a price you're willing to pay, do it. Because the chance of you going back later and finding out that, let's say, this one isn't going to be available for another few years, it's very possible. And of course I've got a pistol over here, and it's just out of reach, so it'll take me a second to get a hold of it. Yep, this is a pistol. Notice there's no stock on it. This is the CZ Scorpion Evo 3, and there's a couple variations of this, and this has evolved over the years. There's been a number of improvements on it. This is legally a pistol. It's defined as a pistol by the ATF. You cannot put a stock on it legally. Some people do put braces on them, but if you put a stock on it, you're creating a short barrel rifle. It has Picatinny rails all over the place. It's even got a Picatinny rail on the bottom, and you've got this stop, which is not a forward grip. All this is a stop to keep you from getting your hand out to the business end of it. But the rail under here can be a little uncomfortable to hold. You may want to put a protector on that rail. And this particular one came with the peep sights, which can be a little difficult to use. A gun like this is definitely ripe for putting an optic on. But overall, this is a fun, again, this one's a 9mm all like the rest of these. This is a fun carbine style pistol that is kind of fun to use and entertaining at the range. A little less practical for anything beyond that, just because of the bulk of it, the size of it, the shape of it. The magazine goes here, so it's kind of ergonomically a little bit clumsy. So hopefully you enjoyed a quick tour of an assortment of CZs. We will put links to the full reviews to all of these in the description, because there is a full review on each one of these. But beyond that, hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you like our videos, please give us a thumbs up, share, subscribe, click that bell up there to be notified if you do. Check us out on Facebook, Patreon, Instagram, Twitter, Getter, kind of everywhere. And thank you.